Welcome to the Especially for Athletes podcast, where we explore essential principles that empower athletes to learn life's most valuable lessons through sports.
All right, Dustin, we're going to do a short little episode today, but really these episodes, the reason why we're doing it weekly is just to keep these principles, the core principles of Especially for Athletes, fresh in the minds of our athletes. And this is actually at the heart of our program, the one we're going to talk about today, which is Seek to Bless, Not to Impress. And Coach Dabo Swinney, coach of the Clemson Tigers, great guy, has lots of great quotes. I think he would get along great with us with some of his philosophies. He's a wonderful man. But he said something that it's almost like it was taken out of the Especially for Athletes book. You know, he said something, a principle that we teach a little bit differently, but he said it so awesome. I just want to let you hear the quote and then get your thoughts on how this applies to our athletes who have the spotlight, that extra attention that's given to them because they're an athlete. He said this: let the light inside of you always be brighter than the light shining on you. So let me read that one more time for athletes to hear, because it's pretty deep. Let the light inside of you always be brighter than the light shining on you. So I'm asking you to guess what's in his head. What do you think he meant by that, Dustin?
Well, that is deep. That's really deep for a football coach. I obviously the light shining on you part would fit. I mean, like you said, word for word with what we refer to as the Sportlight. I assume that's what he's referring to there as well. And it doesn't even have to be sports. Any time in life where you're given attention or a spotlight of sorts is on you. It's easy to sit in that and bask in that, and I think sometimes get burned by that light. You stay in it too long, you get burned by it. And we've seen athletes get burned by the Sportlight. They don't know how to handle it. And they sit in it and feel comfortable in it, and they don't do anything with it other than just bask in it, and they end up burning themselves. You know, letting the light inside of you shine. I would maybe relate that to being more of a reflector. Reflect the light that's shining on you. And this light from sports shining on you as an athlete, it's not at the level as a college athlete or a professional athlete, or until you reach those. If you are a pro athlete, you know the light's a lot brighter. But as a high school athlete, you have a light that's on you. As a junior high athlete, as an elementary school kid, if you're in sports, you have a light on you. And so I think what he was meaning there, Shad, is the same things that you and I talk about all the time. Is that this spotlight that's on you is going to magnify who you are. If you're a good person, it's going to spotlight that, and people are going to see that in you. If you're not, if you're a bad person, if you're doing things you shouldn't do, that's going to be magnified. It's going to be seen. You're not going to be able to keep your actions in the dark as an athlete for very long. If people are going to find out about it. So you have to be careful with that. But that light that's inside of you that all of these athletes have, you got to be willing to share it, though. And that's eyes up, do the work. Eyes up is recognizing that you have this light on you. Doing the work is, okay, what am I going to do to make good with this light? And what work do I need to do to make sure this light doesn't ruin me because I get caught thinking I'm, too cool for school, and then drop my guard and end up making a mistake and paying the price for it.
Yeah, I think that it's hard for athletes because they don't ask for the light.
Yeah. Most
of the kids that are playing at Clemson right now, they were like me and you, backyard football, right? They were probably out there
about 4 inches taller and 60 pounds heavier and all.
Yeah. but they just
when they were kids.
Right?
Yeah, when they were kids, they didn't think they were going to be playing. Maybe they did, but they didn't understand the light that was going to be on them because of that backyard football love turning into playing in front of 100,000 people.
Right. And so all of a sudden they're kind of thrust into this situation where you have a really bright light shining on you that you've never asked for. But I think this is a really cool way to say, we say seek to bless, not to impress. So another way to say that, the way you said it, is seek to reflect that light, shine it onto other people, take that power and help other people. I just really love that quote, that the light inside of you, like what people feel when they interact with you, let that be brighter than the light shining on you. I think that there's a difference between impressing and blessing. I wrote this, the one who makes everything about themselves, they crave the spotlight, they want their name in the headlines, they only work hard when people are watching. Like, that's someone who's more concerned about the light being on them, versus the one who works just as hard when no one's watching. They encourage teammates, they lead by example, they give everything they've got, not for attention, but because it's who they are. That light inside of them. Jabari Parker once said, his dad always said to him that John Wooden quote, that the true test of a man's character is what he does when no one is watching. And his dad took that and said, be the same person in the dark that you are in the light. And I think what Dabo Swinney is saying here, one of the things he might be implying by this is, like, who we are is important, right? Not just what people know us for, but that light within us, the person that we are deep inside of ourselves, let that be brighter than all the accolades, all that spotlight that's shining on other people. It reminded me of, when I think of the impact that others can make. Do you remember Peyton Day? She came on our podcast and she told this story. Okay, here's the story from Peyton.
There were a couple things in my personal life that just didn't go the way that I thought they were going to go. And I was really struggling with these things. And then I had lost my cousin in a tragic car accident. And I still to this day don't know who it was, but someone had written me an anonymous note and left it on like my desk where I had sat in. It was a seminary class, but it was that, Peyton, you are a light to others. And it was sorry, I'm like getting kind of emotional about this, but it was a time when I didn't feel that my light was very bright, that I was feeling really dull. But that's when it really clicked for me that, like, hey, someone had their eyes up. They did something about this, and it changed my day. Still 7-8 years later, I remember that.
So it was a simple action. No one really knew she was going through a difficult time in life, right? Someone just gave her a note that talked about actually the light within herself. Okay. And it totally changed things for her. And so I'm just wondering, Dustin, do you have any thought? Just what are you thinking that you're hoping athletes will do in regard to Eyes Up, Do the Work, as they have this Sportlight that they didn't ask for, but they have it? I'm just wondering what thoughts you have, maybe to close this out, just to encourage athletes to really let the light within them bless other people, not just the light that's shining on them impress people.
I'd probably make it as simple as possible, Shad, and it's not just for athletes. It's the same for adults and all of us, just because Eyes Up, Do the Work is not athletic focused. We've talked about this. If you're new to our podcast, the only reason it's called especially for athletes is because our message that we think is for everybody is uniquely designed especially for athletes because of the Sportlight. That's what changes it. Otherwise, it's a living with your eyes up and doing the work. That motto is something we can all follow. We can all be better for doing, having our eyes up, doing the work. It's especially for athletes because of this exact thing that Coach Swinney talked about, and that's this light that's shining. So I would just say, kids, keep it really simple. This Sportlight's not going to be on you forever. While it is on you, be careful that you're magnifying the right image to others, and that you're magnifying the right type of person that you really are to other people by how you act. And are they going to look at you and think of you as somebody that brought them happiness and brought them, comfort or protection? Or are they going to look at you as somebody that brought them fear and anxiety and sadness? And how are you living your life to make sure that if you are reflecting a light off of you, it's positive and not negative?
Yeah.
And then check yourself, go through your day, ask yourself. And if you say, I'm not doing anything wrong, most of them aren't. We talked about this before. 80% of the kids are great kids. They go to school, they're kind, they go home, they're normal kids. We have 10% of them that are the problem. They're awful, right? They're cruel and they're mean and they do horrible things. And then we have that elite 10%. That's the one that we're trying to really get more kids to be part of. And that's the one that they are seeking. They're actively looking to do good and make other people feel good. So I would ask kids, or parents, your kid's probably in the 80 or in that 10 that's good. I hope they're not in the 10 that's bad. But if they're in that 80, let's get them to be in that 10 that's really good and do extra. And that's encouraging them to not just see things that need fixing, but do things to fix things. And that's being kind and being empathetic and understanding that this Sportlight gives you that opportunity to do more good or to do more bad. It's just how you choose to reflect or use that light.
Yeah. I love that, Dustin. I love what Tim Tebow said. He said, we have to humble ourselves. And the way you do that is by serving other people, by using whatever platform you have, by using whatever resources you have to serve people and to make a difference. And he's definitely been an athlete that has really exemplified that idea. And so here's just some challenges maybe as we close up the podcast. Encourage someone today, whether it's a teammate, a classmate, a family member. Just find someone today and make their day better. And then ask yourself, am I doing this for recognition or to impact someone's life? And I think it's a wonderful thing when we're able to take what life gives us. And we have a lot of people, Dustin, who support our program. Sometimes it's the spotlight that comes from sports that we call the Sportlight. Other times it's financial means, successful people. I love people who take, like Tim Tebow said there, whatever they've been given, and instead of just using that for themselves, they use it to make the world a better place. And so I love that from Dabo Swinney. Just let the light that shines inside of us, that shines forth from us, be brighter than the light that shines on us. And I think the way we could do that is to try to give more than we receive. And that's a good way to live life.
Yep. Simple as that. Spot on.
Awesome. Well, thanks, everybody. Eyes up. Do the work.
Thank you for joining the Especially for Athletes podcast. To learn more about Especially for Athletes organization, get a copy of our book, The Sportlight, or to bring our program to your team, school, business, or organization, visit us at especiallyforathletes.org.